Gilgamesh. What a story. In the 1870s, a clay tablet was deciphered in the British Museum that caused a global sensation. It was the story of a man who built a boat to survive a deluge sent by the gods. But his name wasn't Noah. It was my friend Utnapishtim. Today we're comparing the biblical flood against the much older Epic of Gilgamesh to see what the differences tell us about the unique worldview of the Israelites. Hello everyone, I am Gilgamesh, King of Uruk, currently taking up residence in Utah. If you want to learn more about this topic on your own, and I really hope that you do, I have some recommended reading in the description that I used when I was preparing this. The Epic of Gilgamesh, a masterpiece of ancient Near Eastern literature composed in Akkadian, features the adventures of Gilgamesh, King of Uruk. Within this epic, specifically in its 11th tablet, it has the celebrated flood story recounted by Utnapishtim, who attained immortality after surviving a great deluge. This account caused a sensation when it was first discovered and translated in the 1870s by the self-trained George Smith, due to its remarkable similarities to the biblical narrative of Noah and the Ark. The biblical flood story, found in Genesis 6 through 9, describes God's decision to destroy all living creatures due to humanity's great wickedness, saving only Noah, his family, and pairs of all animals through an ark. This narrative is a cornerstone of biblical primeval history, illustrating themes of divine judgment, deliverance, and covenant. Despite their distinct theological frameworks, the Gilgamesh-Utnapishtim and Noah flood narratives share numerous significant parallels, suggesting a common literary or traditional heritage. Both stories begin with a divine decision to send a catastrophic flood to destroy humanity. Building an ark or ship. Genesis, God instructs Noah to make for yourself an ark of gopher wood in Genesis 6:14, providing specific dimensions 300 by 50 by 30 cubits, rooms, a roof, a door, and 3 stories, to be covered with pitch inside and out. Gilgamesh, Tablet 11, Utnapishtim is instructed by the god Ea to tear down this house and build a ship, Gilgamesh 11:24. This ship is described as a cube, 120 cubits in each dimension, with 6 levels, 7 parts, and 9 sections, also made waterproof with pitch. The Gilgamesh epic provides more detail on the construction, which scholars have linked to an ancient sewn boat technology. Placing animals in the ark. Genesis, Noah is commanded to take 2 of each into the ark, Genesis 6:19 through 20, with 7 pairs of clean animals and 2 of unclean. Gilgamesh Tablet 11, Utnapishtim is told to aboard the ship, take thou the seed of all living things, Gilgamesh 11:27. Entry into the ark. Both accounts describe the hero entering the vessel with his family and the animals. The deluge. A great storm and flood ensue, destroying all life outside the vessel. Ark landing on a mountain. Both vessels come to rest on a mountaintop. Noah's ark lands in the mountains of Ararat, in Genesis 8:4, while Utnapishtim's ship rests on Mount Nasir, sending out birds. To determine if the waters have subsided, both heroes send out birds. Utnapishtim sends a dove, a swallow, and a raven. Noah sends a raven, then a dove 3 times. Offering sacrifice. After emerging from the ark, both Noah and Utnapishtim offer sacrifices. Divine acceptance of the offering. The deities smelled the pleasing odor in Genesis 8:21, or smelled the sweet savor in Gilgamesh 11:160, gathering like flies over the offering in the Gilgamesh story. Despite the striking parallels, the difference between the Gilgamesh Utnapishtim and Noah narratives are notable, particularly in their theological and ethical implications. The contrasts highlight the distinctive worldview of the Hebrew Bible. Theological framework: monotheism versus polytheism. Genesis, the story of Noah, is fundamentally monotheistic. The flood is an act of the one God, the Lord. Gilgamesh and Atrahasis, these are polytheistic narratives involving multiple gods with distinct roles and often conflicting motivations. The cause of the flood. Genesis, the flood is a divine judgment caused by the great wickedness of man and violence, Hamas, that has filled the earth in Genesis 6:5 and also 11. Every imagination of the thought of his heart was only evil continually, Genesis 6:5. Gilgamesh, Atrahasis, the Atrahasis epic is a source for the Gilgamesh flood story. The gods send the flood because human beings multiplied too quickly and had become too noisy, disturbing the gods' rest. In the Gilgamesh version itself, it gives no explicit reason for the flood. Divine motivation and intervention. Genesis, the Lord deliberately spares Noah because he was a righteous man, blameless in his generation, Genesis 6:9. God makes a covenant with Noah. Gilgamesh, Atrahasis, Utnapishtim is warned secretly by the god Ea against the will of the chief god Enlil, who intended to destroy all of humanity without exception. Mankind is accidentally spared. The gods are depicted as cowering like dogs during the storm and gathering like flies around the sacrifice because they were hungry without human offerings. The outcome for the flood hero and humanity. Genesis, Noah and his family are commanded to increase and multiply and repopulate the earth, receiving dominion over it. The Lord makes a covenant never again to destroy all living creatures by a flood, symbolized by the rainbow in Genesis 9:1-17. Noah is told not to withdraw from the world, but to help build it up again. Gilgamesh, Atrahasis, Utnapishtim and his wife are granted immortality and transformed into gods, but they are isolated from the general human condition, withdrawing from the world. The gods reach a compromise to control human population through less drastic actions like wild beasts and famines and unsuccessful births. Ishtar's colorful necklace of lapis lazuli serves as a symbolic reminder, similar to the rainbow. Narrative context and purpose. Genesis, the flood story, is embedded within a larger narrative of primeval history, illustrating a pattern of divine judgment and deliverance, and leading to the establishment of a covenant with all humanity. It is part of a step-by-step deterioration of the human situation, leading to an uncreation or collapse of cosmic order, only to be restarted by the Lord as a new world. Gilgamesh Tablet 11, the flood story is a recounting by Utnapishtim to Gilgamesh, who is on a quest for immortality, explaining how Utnapishtim achieved his unique status. Its function is to explain how immortality was once granted to a mortal, and open a path for Gilgamesh to make his own attempts to gain an eternal life. Scholars have long debated the relationship between these two narratives. Some scholars propose that both stories derive from a common ancient source, while others suggest that the Israelites adopted the story of the Mesopotamians, perhaps during the Babylonian captivity, and integrated it into their own scriptures. Most scholars accept the later theory as the more likely, noting that the Gilgamesh epic itself incorporated the Atrahasis flood account, demonstrating a tradition of adaptation. Regardless of the direct literary dependence, there is a broad consensus that the biblical authors significantly reshaped the traditional flood narrative to reflect their unique monotheistic and ethical worldview. The biblical account expresses divine action in much more reflective moral and theological categories by underscoring human sin and divine judgment and mercy. The ethical motivation and the monotheism of the biblical story are not elements in the Mesopotamian legends. The comparison of Gilgamesh, Utnapishtim, and the Noah flood narratives underscores a complex relationship between ancient Near Eastern literary traditions and the Hebrew Bible. While sharing a common narrative framework and many specific motifs, the biblical account profoundly reinterprets these elements through a monotheistic lens, emphasizing God's ethical character and humanity's moral responsibility and the establishment of a divine covenant. This transformation highlights the distinctive theological message of Israel, demonstrating how familiar stories were imbued with unique beliefs to present a particular perception of reality. The biblical narrative, therefore, is not merely a copy, but a recreation, offering a poignant reflection on divine justice, mercy, and the enduring relationship between God and humanity. I hope you found this helpful. If you'd like to support this channel and help me make more content like this, becoming a channel member is a great way to do that. If that is not something you're in a position to do, please know that I want to continue making this content for everyone. Just like and subscribe, share it with your friends and family and on social media, and that will also help the channel greatly. Thank you. Shalom.